Village of Hainesville regular board meeting will now come to order at 7:01 p.m. on Tuesday, March 8th. If you'll all please stand and rise, I'm going to lead us in the pledge. I'm going to ask that we have a moment of silence immediately following the pledge. A longtime resident and former village official, Edith Powell, passed away. I'm going to have her full obituary on display here. Her son is also present, and I believe will be speaking in public comment time.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Present.
Trustees Derlaski.
Here.
Tiffany.
Here.
Duberstein. Here. Garrett.
Here.
Daly.
Here.
And Washington.
Here.
Okay, and we are in quorum with the full board. I'd like a motion for tonight's agenda. Roll call.
Trustees Derlaski.
Aye.
Tiffany.
Aye.
Duberstein. Aye. Garrett.
Aye.
Daly.
Aye.
And Washington.
Aye.
Okay, at this time, we move on to public comments. Anyone that would like to address the board, please step up to the mic, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Timothy Powell, P-O-W-E-L-L. My home address is 231 East Belvedere Road, Hainesville, Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, Madam Mayor, it's with deep sympathy and admiration that I announce the passing of my mother, Edith May Loftus Powell. And normally I would say this is out of order, but however, due to the lifetime commitment my mother had to this community, my mother was born here on November 26, 1919, on Willow Farm, which is our farm here at Hainesville, which is established in 1901. We have been here for 110 years. My mother was born here, the youngest unexpected child of a family of 6. They were farmers, we were entrepreneurs, we helped the community, and we were involved. My mother has served as treasurer, village clerk, trustee, along with the commitments of my father, who was a trustee, my uncle, which was the village president, and other members of my family going back into history were also a part of this community. They were a part of this village to keep it stable, to keep it organized, and to keep it functioning during the mean and lean years when this village was almost collapsed. With the help of Bill Hall, who was the village clerk at that time, this village was kept dormant but still kept active. And my family, the Loftus, L-O-F-T-U-S family, was very committed to this village. At this time, the passing of my mother was unexpected. My mother had lived a very active and fruitful life. She was a businessman herself, a businesswoman I should say, along with her commitments to clubs, organizations, her family, and relatives. So with that in mind, the passing was unexpected with a stroke, but my mother again had lived a full and committed life. And at the end, in watching her wither away, but still struggling. And my mother always had this commitment to keep going. And this was her motto throughout my whole life. No matter if things are down, things are bad, things are worse, you always keep going. And this is what I tried to instill in my mother when her time of need came about. Mother, please bear with me. I'm working behind the scenes for you, but I want you to be positive. And that was another key word for me. Stay positive. So with this in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the passing of my mother was unexpected, but it was a blessing at the end. So again, for this village, this community, please pray for my mother. And her obituary is in the Daily Herald, the New Sun. And The wake would be for her this coming Friday at the Strang Funeral Home. Burial will be private, but at our family plot in Idaho Cemetery. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, and our deepest sympathy from the entire village. I do have a copy of Edith's obituary from the Daily Herald up here. And actually, when I moved to the community, and also when Ted moved to the community, Edith was serving as a trustee on that board at that time. And I greatly enjoyed watching her in the meetings. She was a lady quite ahead of her time. She was a smart, intelligent lady and very dedicated to the community. So I will leave the obituary up here if anybody would like to read that after the meeting.
I just have to say that as an election judge, it was always a joy when she came in to vote. She was always so positive and pleasant. It was a pleasure to have her come.
Is there any other public comments? Anybody would like to address the board?
Ted Mueller, 318 East Catherine Drive, Hainesville. I also knew Edith. I met her about the same time that Mayor Sutherland met her. Actually, I met her 18 years ago when our house was under construction. I used to come to board meetings. And I also, both Mayor Sutherland and I served on the board with Edith. And she's a great loss to the community. She was an excellent servant, and I always admired her. She spoke her piece, and she didn't pick any up in Mayor George Clinton's time either, and we're all going to miss her.
Very true. Thank you, Ted. That was our former mayor, Ted Mueller.
David Cruz, 567 North Triumph Court. Earlier this year, we had one of our Western border neighbors put some pallets and wood and make his own fishing pier out on the lake. We had, at the time, confronted him and he was supposed to remove these objects. And in my walk around the lake in the last couple of days, I noticed there's still a lot of stuff still there. Some of it's frozen into the ice. There's pieces of membrane of some sort, the rubberized stuff that was placed under the pallets originally. And I just want to let everybody know and put it on the record that they're still there.
Jeff, do you have any comment? Because I know you went and talked to
I
you.
did talk to the guy, and he was supposed to remove them. However, if they were frozen in the ice, he probably wasn't able to get them out because there's really no way we would be able to get them out.
True. I don't know if they were frozen at the time, because at the time the lake was pretty cold and frozen, and they were laying on top. And
Well, they were laid on top to do ice fishing, were they not?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they could have been frozen.
It might have been during the thaw that he
Well, we have his address and phone number, so we will
Yeah, we know
contact
who
him.
it is.
Okay.
It's duly noted, Dave.
Okay.
Thank you. Jeff, just make a note to follow up on that, and I'll be happy to talk to that resident if you like. Is there anybody else that would like to address the board at this time? Gone. Okay, we'll move on to the omnibus vote agenda. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Doranowski.
Aye.
Tiffany.
Aye.
Duberstein.
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
Daly.
Aye.
And Waddington.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on to reports and communications, starting with my report. On February 26th, that was a Saturday, I spent a half day at a community forum workshop that was held at the Round Lake Beach Civic Center. This was the end of an almost year-long study that has been done on the Round Lake area for the immigrant integration study, which primarily focused on the Hispanic community. And Carolina Duke, the director of Mano a Mano, held that study. And she did quite an impressive presentation to all of us from the 5 Round Lake area communities of the data and research that she found. She went around and interviewed various officials, school officials, and also went in and met with families, did focus groups, obviously used the recent census data information, and also her own resources for mano a mano of people that maybe are afraid to participate in the census, trying to draw them out. And the increase in the Hispanic population from 2000 to 2010 is quite significant. It's about a 258% increase. So at this workshop, at the end, after we were done going over the data, it was interesting. She broke everyone into roundtable discussions, and so that you weren't sitting with people you normally work with. They were smart. We were all seated at tables of 10, so they counted off 1 through 10, and all the number ones went to table number 1, all the number 2s went to table number 2, and there was a facilitator at each table. And so we had some roundtable discussions to come up with ideas, changes, and solutions of how we address some of the challenges, not only with the school district, but with community and with voting and citizenship. And we had people there that were from the University of Chicago leading us and facilitating this project. So there'll be a compilation from these roundtable discussions, and one of the key things that was brought up that we need to have a roundtable discussion with the heads of government of these 5 communities. So we're looking forward to that taking place in the near future. I have a copy of some of the data, which I will make copies and get it in all the trustees' mailbox, but they're going to be forwarding some more material, so I thought maybe I'd bundle it all together and share it with you at that time. Also, just the other thing I want to really, really emphasize, and to you out there who are going to watch this meeting through YouTube, you need to mark your calendars and know that there's an election coming up in your community. And we have 3 trustee seats available. We have 4 candidates running. On March 22nd, we will be having a candidates forum. And you need to pay attention. You need to know who your candidates are. You need to take an interest. There's also people up for school board, park district boards, library boards. These are people that make decisions that affect your everyday life. So your vote does matter, and I hope that we have a good turnout in the upcoming election. With that, we'll move on to the clerk.
Okay, the candidates forum is all set, and the candidates will be receiving letters that are going to be mailed out tomorrow regarding the rules for the form. You need to sign that and return it to me. And then we're working on business license renewals. And then, did you want to talk about the census?
Well, yeah, you can go ahead and chime in as well, but I had given Kathy the mission of contacting the Census Bureau. At our last meeting, we talked about that we really feel there's a great discrepancy in the numbers. I felt that way strongly, and former Mayor Ted Mueller had come and talked to me earlier that day and had the same concerns, and he had done some projections when the special census was done that were good projections, and it just adds to the fact that there's got to be some type of discrepancy. Kathy called the Census Bureau. Kathy, I'll let you relay the discussion, okay, so I don't misquote you.
It's called, we're going to challenge the count, which they were very familiar with. So I'm assuming that there are other villages, municipalities that are challenging. So we cannot start the paperwork till June 1st.